that point, you mean above 221 feet? It would
Yeah.
have to come back to, it'd have to be a change in the land development regulations. It'd have to come back to your board and have to come back to the city commission.
Gotcha.
Wait, Neeson, I just want to ask something. Did whatever happened? Because I remember the last time Mitch Novick was on, and he was inquiring about the artwork that was in front. Do you know what ended up happening with that?
Yes, as a condition of the order approving the residential building, which was a little more than a week ago, we, that is the developer, 3425 Collins, has agreed to restore and place the mural, and subject to approval, final approval from the city, we're actually now looking at a location on the Rake House Center wall. You know, that sort of that long blank wall they have facing to the east.
What a great idea, Neeson. What a great idea.
Yeah,
and the city will really enjoy that.
Wait a minute, Neeson. I thought we were going to put it on the garage facing City Hall.
17th.
Yes, that was, as you remember, I shared that with you.
Yeah.
We thought that was a fabulous location, but the city absolutely refused to have it located there.
Where is it going to be now? Neeson, where is it?
And then there was a proposal to put it like on the ground in between the two buildings, the Versailles and the Amman residences, but that would be just not visible and nor respectful of the art. So someone else at the city came up with the notion, since they wouldn't put it on the garage, of putting it on the Rakow Youth Center's wall. And in fact, I can send you the image of it so that it can be shared with the board.
That's on Pine Tree Drive?
Pine Tree Drive and 28th Street. And so that is a big blank wall on a pretty prominent, busy street, and a center that gets a tremendous amount of use. And if you look at the image of it up against that wall, and it even wraps around a little bit on the north side, which is the way it was displayed at the old annex of the Versailles, because part was on Collins, part was facing south, parking lot. It really works well. So we were very happy. I think everyone was very happy that a good home has been found. And the city has to finally approve it, but that's a good place for it.
I think that's great, Neeson.
I thought it would have been great on that garage, because people coming down from the convention center would see it there on that garage. But I don't know why the city has rejected that. But I thought, and actually, it was your idea, Neeson.
Yes. Look, I thought it was a fabulous location because it was so prominent and so visible. But the city said, well, someday that garage may be torn down, and which I don't think in our lifetimes that garage will be torn down. And then the idea of putting it on the wall would be. So in any event, but the other location that the city staff came up with is actually quite a nice location, and in some respects will be a location. I'll send you the images of it.
Yeah, please do, Neeson. Thank you.
There's a little park across the street. People will be able to, look at it, contemplate it. All the
used to be the Par 3.
Par 3 is
used to be.
Lake House Center used to be the second hole.
Future Bayshore Park.
I love that little golf course. So
about the mural, and you alluded to it a minute ago with the concern about the parking lot being torn down. Is there any protection for that mural, so that if they decide in 20 years that the Scott Rakow Center needs to be upgraded and the only way to do that is to demolish it and build anew, does protection travel with the mural so that it needs to be removed again and stored until it can be replaced someplace else?
That's going to be the city's whatever. I mean, the mural will be given to the city, and however the city decides to protect it or what they decide to do with it will be for the city to decide.
That's an interesting question, because it was part of a local historic district, and so does the protection travel to another district on the mural? That's really an interesting point, Tom.
Oh, I don't think there's unless it's designated as a historic site, or no, protection wouldn't travel with it.
So, Tom, is there a way to initiate some sort of protection mechanism for the mural itself, regardless of where it's currently residing?
Without designating historic, no. As Neeson indicated, assuming that the commission approves the relocation to Rakow and it's installed, then it will then become, once the Amman people finish the installation and it's done, then the city will take ownership of that. Obviously, the commission would have to approve any modification to that mural, any removal of it at some point in the future. Whether the city commission would want to designate that mural as historic on the Rakow Center, that's something that could potentially be explored, but that's about the only way that you could probably provide protection to it moving forward.
Could the Historic Preservation Board that designation, Tom?
I don't think the HPB has the authority to designate personal property rather than real property. But maybe if the planning board wants to express its views on this, I mean, maybe this is the opportunity for a motion recommending that the city commission preserve the mural, whatever location it ends up in.
Well, Nick, it would be a fixture once it's installed on the building. So then the real estate might be designated. It might travel. The real estate itself would become historic because of that fixture.
Yep. You know what, guys? I think this is a fight. I think this is a discussion to have another. I mean, this isn't really relevant for this item, but they're giving it to us, and then we deal with the city will deal with it at some point, and we'll all protest if they try to ever mess with it.
But I do think that it makes sense for us to share the concern that the city think about how to protect it going forward at this time.
I mean, listen, they're spending a ton of money, Tanya, just to do this. I mean, somebody's spending a ton of money to do this. So obviously there's sort of thought about this already.
No,
you can make whatever recommendation you would like, as Nick said. If the board feels collectively that a resolution is in order to recommend that the commission make all best efforts to retain the mural in perpetuity at the eventual location, you could certainly make a resolution like that or a recommendation like that.
But it can't be tied to this approval right now.
No, it wouldn't be tied to the approval. It would be a separate resolution. That's all.
So right. We'll do it in two steps. So I want to go ahead and make your motion with regards to a recommendation to the commission to preserve the asset in the event that let me not rephrase. I'll let you phrase it.
Well, you're doing great. So everything you just said, I make the motion that that we recommend to the commission to make every effort necessary to protect the mural in perpetuity, regardless of where it's located. So that if it's on the Rakow for the next 10 years, great. But if the Rakow goes up in smoke tomorrow, that the city removes the mural and in perpetuity.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair. And Tanya, if you just accept a friendly amendment, I just want to just to add that it's the Apollo mural that we're referring to by
yes.
Jack Stewart.
Thank you.
It's been moved by Tanya. One second, Dave. It's been moved by Tanya and seconded by Alex with an amendment accepted by Tanya.
But I want to add an amendment.
David?
Will they yield to allow me to propose an amendment to that?
What is your change you want, David?
That it be designated historic and treated as a historic artifact of the city of Miami Beach.
Tanya, do you accept the amendment?
100%.
Okay, let's.
And I believe the seconder has to accept as well.
And that's fine. And just for clarity, this is not tying the commission's hands or the city's hands to any specific location. Is this correct?
No, it's just a recommendation that basically the artifact be carefully looked after for the duration of its ability to live and be viewed.
And thank you to Mr. Casteda and to the applicants for making this contribution to our city. It certainly would be valuable.
Agree. Before we vote, do we have the capacity to designate something historic?
No, it's just a recommendation, and there are going to be other things that go along with this, like maintenance of this artifact and so on and so forth. So let's just dispose of this. This is just a recommendation to the city. Rogelio, you want to call the vote?
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, if you want to add on the designation part, if permitted by the code, that'll allow us to take a deeper dive after the meeting.
Okay.
What do you mean by that? I don't follow that.
So the motion had two components. One was to preserve the mural. The other was to initiate the designation or recommend the designation. So we need to look internally as to whether what is otherwise personal property can be designated. I don't think we've looked at that question, but
I think the owner needs to designate it.
But I don't, Nick. That's fine. I'm not going to go down that path because it's just a recommendation, and you guys can figure that out when you present it to the city and have your staff notes to it, right?
I like following the guidance of our attorney, and I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but Nick, I'm sorry. I think we need a little bit of clarity on what you were saying. You were saying for the commission to follow this advisory recommendation for as long as it is consistent with what is allowed under the code.
What I was saying is because the addition to the motion, the amendment to the motion was that the board also wanted to recommend historic designation. And what Tom and I raised is the question of whether the mural can be designated as historic under our code. So my suggestion was, can the board add to its motion if permitted by the code?
Tanya, are you?
The planning board recommends
that?
the historic designation of the mural if permitted by the code.
But not only that, I think once it's installed on the property, it becomes a fixture, and
that may be.
I don't see the harm of looking into what the process would entail and what is or is not permitted. So I think that's fine.
All right. So Alex and Tanya have accepted all of these amendments. Rogelio, please call the vote.
All right, Ms. Bott?
Yes.
Mr. Brantley?
Yes.
Ms. DiPietro?
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Gelpi?
Yes.
Mr. Milan?
Yes, and I also, I just want to say, I want to say thanks to Mitch Novick for bringing this to our attention, because this perhaps would not have happened, but for a citizen really taking ownership of this and bringing it to our attention. So I don't know if he's on or not, but thank you, Mitch.
Mr. Weeder?
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Thank you. And I remember when this was originally brought up before the Historic Preservation Board, when the entire project was initiated. So I think we were cognizant of it. So my vote is yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously 7-0.
All right, awesome. And thank you guys for all your comments. I wasn't meaning to cut you all short, but I know that our staff and everybody is going to do that actual work, and appreciate Nick's comments.